I don't know if I have a question or more of an observation, and that is to Kiram's point. As a developer, I may be listening to this thinking that's all well and good for them. Like we're a smaller shop, we don't really even we can't commit resources to our projects until we get to NTP. How could we ever think about seeding a site that, for in some way, is a bit of a gamble for us? Like we're still working on interconnection on that site. And on the whole, it speaks to why a developer like Lightsource is successful and has the backing that it does because you've been successful at developing projects that don't fall halfway through and you can commit earlier in the development cycle. But I wonder what you would say to those developers who are have this question in the back of their minds, like, how could I possibly start seeding a site that I'm not even sure is going to make it through the interconnection queue?
So I've had this conversation with a lot of, my peers in the industry. I've been in renewables for almost 20 years, and my environmental peers, we talk about this all the time. And so, and I'll admit, like, I was skeptical as well. Like when I first we started, putting out our goals as Light Source BP, right? Because responsible solar, it's the fundamental aspect of our sustainability goals at Light Source, right? People, the environment, and energy, right? And of course, today we're talking about, people and the environment. And what I've learned is, a few things. One, really good planning and really good scheduling can solve a whole lot of problems, right? So what Virginia was describing is this technique called pre-seeding, right? So you're seeding areas before construction. And in almost all cases, we have an EPC. So our construction company is lined up. We know we're going to build this project. We're very close to that, right? So,
Mhm.
it's and guess what? We use local landowners and people in the community often, more often than not, to actually do the pre-seeding for us, right? Another way that we connect with communities. And so in the end, I mean, it saves money. Our construction team loves pre-seeding because it means they need less erosion and sedimentation controls during the construction
Right.
process. It's cheaper, right? Well, you sort of have to find that out. You sort of you realize it as you go through the process, and you say, wait a second, wow, we preceded that project and that was really worth it. And now we do it all the time, right? Another point on agrivoltaics, right? With using sheep grazing. Now, we don't just like open the gates and the sheep come in. It doesn't work that way, right? We have to manage grazing plans. We have to have fencing up. We have to have our equipment in certain conditions for risk to the sheep. I mean, there's a lot going on in when we're putting together a grazing plan, but there's a reason why we have 2 gigawatts in a grazing model. I mean, it works for the community, it works for biodiversity, and it is just more efficient than mowing. And efficiency is cost savings. So what we've sort of, in this whole journey, I would say over the past like 3 or 4 years, what we've realized is that adding biodiversity value is also really lines up with project economics, and it makes it our job so much easier, right? And we have other examples of this, particularly with respect to, for all of our projects, we do like a large scale vegetation installation underneath and around the arrays for habitat that is wildlife and pollinator friendly, right? What I've learned from Virginia is that, and because we actually worked together before she was at Lightsource, when she worked for a construction company and we were building projects together. And if you curate seed mixes, right, with the right species, you can have all this amazing benefit, low growing grasses, and at something that's cost competitive. So, we've just kind of learned all this, through the years, and it's been really remarkable the impact on the projects.